what dining at Cucina del Capitano is really like. Is Carnival's famous Italian restaurant, Cucina del Capitano, actually worth the hype and the extra cash? Vamos a comer! Wait, dang it, Google Translate! My name's Ruben and I am not a cruise expert, but I do know how to hablas español. Well, wait, hold on. But I do know how to habla español. Well, that actually doesn't help me too much here. Oh well. What is helpful is this ship tour of the Carnival Radiance. So check out that video here if you've never been on the Radiance and then come back. So let's find out what dining here is really like.
Hi guys, my name is Vanessa.
The promise is a warm, rustic, family-style Italian dinner at sea. And yeah, the atmosphere definitely looks the part with the classic red and white checkered tablecloths and Italian decor. But the real question is, does the food live up to the hype and the fantasy? Spoiler alert, it totally is. But the surprising part is why. I'm on the Carnival Radiance and I'm going to share my Cucina del Capitano dining experience with you and the surprising comparison to Carnival Firenze's Il Viaggio. Ambiance and first impressions. First things first, the vibe. Walking upstairs from the buffet feels like you're transported into a restaurant on deck 10. Okay, just kidding, kind of. Now the atmosphere isn't as luxurious or elegant as Fahrenheit 555 or Il Viaggio on the Firenze, but it definitely is nicer than anywhere else on the ship, especially the buffet. You're surrounded by warm wood, exposed brick, and wine barrels used as decor. The lighting is nice and soft, and those iconic red and white checkered tablecloths give a familiar Italian restaurant feel. The name Cucina del Capitano means the captain's kitchen, and that is totally fitting. Compared to the huge, bustling main dining restaurants, and especially the buffet, this space is way more intimate and quiet. It's casual, but it still feels special. Definitely a step up. It's the perfect escape from the chaotic energy of the rest of the ship. So on ambiance alone, they're delivering so far. Now, a great vibe can only get you so far. Now for the real test, the food, and to see if it's worth the additional price tag. Menu and money. Okay, let's get into the detail, the menu and how much. Dinner at Cucina del Capitano is one of 4 specialty dining restaurants that cost extra. Right now on the Radiance, the price is $24 for an adult and $11 for kids 11 and under, and it includes an 11% automatic gratuity on top of that. For comparison, its rival Il Viaggio on the Firenze is $42 a person plus the 18% gratuity. Stay to the end and I will compare them both. Now for price, you get a full-on Italian feast, bread, an appetizer, a main course, a side dish, and a dessert. The menu is inspired by the actual family recipes of Carnival's captains and is broken down into antepasti, pasta, secondi, contorni, and dolce. But hold on, don't tell anyone else about this pro tip. You can come here for lunch for free. You fill out a sheet with your choice of pasta, sauce, and toppings, and they'll whip up a custom lunch for you for free. It's a great way to taste test their pasta and soak in the atmosphere without paying for the full dinner. Spoiler alert, it is not as good as the dinner. But stay to the end to find out what that really means and if the dinner is worth it or not. Tonight, however, we're going all in for the full dinner to find out exactly how much better it is. I checked out the menu and Vanessa was amazing and helped me decide. The bread. Like any good Italian meal, we started off with some bread. Well, actually not just some bread. This was the bread that said, "Hello to my little friend." Well, yeah, I don't know what that means either. I do know that this was some of the best bread I've ever had in my life. No cap. I don't know what that means either. This bread was incredible. I seriously would pay just to have this. Appetizer. For appetizers, I had the calamari. It really wasn't anything to write home about. Not horrible, but not great. Entree. There were some great choices, but I went with the pork chop because I got the same thing at Il Viaggio and I was curious what the difference was. But before we talk about that, this is the side that I have. Gnocchi. It was pretty good. It was like a potatoey, starchy kind of thing, and it was decent. It wasn't something that was amazing, but it also wasn't horrible. Now, I was totally surprised that this pork chop was amazing. It was cooked perfectly and so juicy. It was just so easy to cut into. Now, the presentation didn't look nearly as nice as Il Viaggio. However, I do think it tasted way better. The flavor was amazing. It was so delicious. I loved it. Seriously amazing. But what about the dessert? Dessert. So even though I paid extra for specialty dining, I made the crazy decision to pay extra on top of that to try this mile-high gelato pie for an extra $6. Did I make another crazy mistake? Let's find out. What do you think? Looking at it, it doesn't look anything too special or extra. It was decent, it was good, and I would have been happy with it as an included dessert, but I do not think that it was worth the extra price. The final verdict, is it worth it? So is Cucina del Capitano really worth the extra money? Well, yes and no. The atmosphere was an 8 out of 10. It's warm, cozy, charming escape that feels totally like a different world from the rest of the ship. Kind of. The service was fantastic, attentive, friendly, and very helpful. Now, is the food better than the main dining restaurant or MDR? Absolutely. The food at Cucina del Capitano is a clear step up in both quality and authenticity. The flavors are more specific and you can definitely tell there's a higher level of care and preparation. Now, what about compared to its Firenze rival, Il Viaggio? That's what was surprising. Il Viaggio costs 75% more, but it's not 75% better. In fact, the bread and pork chop were way better at Cucina. So is it worth it? Again, yes and no. If this is your first time on a Carnival ship, I recommend that you try out all the free restaurants first. There's more than enough to try out that's already included in your cruise fare. But if you've already been on the Radiance a few times, absolutely try out Cucina del Capitano. It is a great meal and especially a great value for what you get. If you are looking for a memorable and seriously satisfying Italian dinner at sea, this is one captain's kitchen you will be glad you visited. Now, to find out which other restaurants on the Radiance you should visit next, check out this video where I rank every restaurant to find out which is best.